She replied, "Why don't you do as much for the people of God as you have promised to do for me? You have convicted yourself in making this decision because you have refused to bring home your own banished son. All of us must die eventually. Our lives are like water spilled out on the ground, which cannot be gathered up again. But God does not just sweep life away. Instead, he devises ways to bring us back when we have been separated from him." What's up, cool people? My name's Matt. Welcome back to our Bible study. Okay, so we're looking at 2 Samuel 14. Last chapter, lots of bad stuff. Amnon, David's one son, did something with his half-sister that he shouldn't have done. And then Tamar, the half-sister, her brother Absalom, her full brother, presumably Absalom, was angry with Amnon. So then, like, a couple years later, Amnon winds up going with, like, all of the brothers to a particular feast that Absalom prepared. Absalom takes the opportunity to get revenge on Amnon. So then Amnon dies. Absalom flees to avoid punishment, or at least elude any, like, immediate revenge, seemingly. But it said at the end of the previous chapter that, you know, after a few years, David's attitude had changed. He wasn't as grief-stricken over losing Amnon. So, yeah, by the way, these were all sons of David that we're talking about, in case I didn't mention that or that wasn't clear. But anyway, so all that happens, and then we get to this chapter here. So here we go, 2 Samuel chapter 14. Joab realized how much the king longed to see Absalom. So he sent for a woman from Tekoa who had a reputation for great wisdom. He said to her, "Pretend you are in mourning. Wear mourning clothes and don't put on lotions. Act like a woman who has been mourning for the dead for a long time. Then go to the king and tell him the story I am about to tell you." Then Joab told her what to say. Okay. So now, Joab apparently has some sort of plan to try and bring Absalom back. So Joab was one of the primary commanders of David's armies. And it seems like he and David were pretty tight, you might say, relationally. So Joab, I guess, sees this longing in David and wants to do something about it. We'll see how this woman factors into it, and maybe hear what he told her to tell David. Note at don't put on lotions. Hebrew says don't anoint yourself with oil. Similar kind of idea, probably. I mean, they both probably would have been helpful for skin, especially skin moisturizing. But anyway. Okay, so Joab tells this woman what to say. Then we get to verse 4. When the woman from Tekoa approached the king, she bowed with her face to the ground in deep respect and cried out, "O king, help me!" "What's the trouble?" the king asked. "Alas, I am a widow," she replied. "My husband is dead. My 2 sons had a fight out in the field, and since no one was there to stop it, one of them was killed. Now the rest of the family is demanding, 'Let us have your son. We will execute him for murdering his brother.' He doesn't deserve to inherit his family's property. They want to extinguish the only coal I have left, and my husband's name and family will disappear from the face of the earth. Leave it to me, the king told her. Go home, and I'll see to it that no one touches him. Okay. The woman from Tekoa, it didn't specifically, I don't think it mentioned that being where Absalom went. Or maybe it did and I'm just not remembering correctly. Let me see here. No. Staying in Geshur, unless Tekoa was in the land of Geshur. I don't know. But so the woman says all these things. They may or may not actually be accurate. Because remember, Joab was telling her to say things to David. And this is maybe just the story to get David to go to a certain place and possibly encounter Absalom. I don't know. But, then we get to verse 9. Oh, thank you, my lord the king, the woman from Tekoa replied. If you are criticized for helping me, let the blame fall on me and on my father's house, and let the king and his throne be innocent. If anyone objects, the king said, bring him to me. I can assure you he will never harm you again. Then she said, please swear to me by the Lord your God that you won't let anyone take vengeance against my son. I want no more bloodshed. As surely as the Lord lives, he replied, not a hair on your son's head will be disturbed. Okay. The connection still isn't obvious at this point. But, so David agrees to help. The woman's thankful. Says not to worry about, like, any blame or criticism for jumping in. Which, I mean, she previously mentioned other people in the family wanted this last son killed. So, I guess that's where the potential criticism or reaction would come from. Presumably. Again, none of this might even actually be real. But, David still agrees. And David says, if anyone objects, bring him to me. Can assure you he will never harm you again. He being the people objecting, I assume? I don't know. Anyway. Also, the whole, like, one son killing another, that could have a connection to Absalom and Amnon and their actions in the previous chapter. So, this might be a veiled way of trying to then bring Absalom in, and then as part of this conversation and these promises being made here, basically getting a guarantee that Absalom won't come to any harm upon returning. Okay. So David agrees not to have any harm come to this currently unnamed son. Then we get to verse 12. Please allow me to ask one more thing of my lord the king, she said. Go ahead and speak, he responded. She replied, why don't you do as much for the people of God as you have promised to do for me? You have convicted yourself in making this decision because you have refused to bring home your own banished son. All of us must die eventually. Our lives are like water spilled out on the ground, which cannot be gathered up again. But God does not just sweep life away. Instead, He devises ways to bring us back when we have been separated from Him. I have come to plead with my lord the king because people have threatened me. I said to myself, perhaps the king will listen to me and rescue us from those who would cut us off from the inheritance God has given us. Yes, my lord the king will give us peace of mind again. I know that you are like an angel of God in discerning good from evil. May the Lord your God be with you. Okay. So now she's kind of making a comparison to this situation that she has brought up and what happened with Absalom. Because, as I mentioned earlier, Absalom had a hand, actually is basically responsible for Amnon's death. So it, leaves David looking suspicious, inconsistent maybe at least, that he wants to do all these things for this woman in her situation, but he hasn't made any particular action at this point to try and reconcile things with Absalom, who is in a way equivalent to this, hypothetical or not, remaining son that this woman from Tekoa has mentioned. Footnote there says that we're the property or the people. Rescue us from those who would cut us off from the property or from the people. Okay. And that again might be a reference to Absalom being cut off. And maybe this woman had some connection with Absalom. Not real sure yet. But then we get to verse 18. I must know one thing, the king replied, and tell me the truth. Yes, my lord the king, she responded. Did Joab put you up to this? And the woman replied, my lord the king, how can I deny it? Nobody can hide anything from you. Yes, Joab sent me and told me what to say. He did it to place the matter before you in a different light. But you are as wise as an angel of God, and you understand everything that happens among us. So the king sent for Joab and told him, all right, go and bring back the young man Absalom. So, Joab's plan apparently works. So the intent was, as the woman stated, to try and get David to see the situation with Absalom from a different perspective or in a different way. So rather than Absalom continuing to be exiled or otherwise, apart from the rest of his family and the people of Israel, Joab's thought is, all right, let's get David to have some sympathy for Absalom here. We'll make a story that's comparable, and yeah, I guess that was convincing enough, because David tells Joab to go get Absalom. Then we get to verse 22. Joab bowed with his face to the ground in deep respect and said, At last I know that I have gained your approval, my lord the king, for you have granted me this request. Then Joab went to Geshur and brought Absalom back to Jerusalem. But the king gave this order: Absalom may go to his own house, but he must never come into my presence. So Absalom did not see the king. Alright, well, Absalom's back home at least. But, I mean, you know, it's definitely understandable that in some way or another, the relationship between David and Absalom would be forever changed. Because of Absalom killing Amnon, another one of David's sons. Alright, then... yeah, I don't really have too many other thoughts on that little section. So, on to verse 25. Now Absalom was praised as the most handsome man in all Israel. He was flawless from head to foot. He cut his hair only once a year, and then only because it was so heavy. When he weighed it out, it came to 5 pounds. He had 3 sons and 1 daughter. His daughter's name was Tamar, and she was very beautiful. So he named his daughter after his sister. Maybe that was a, like, family legacy type of thing where because of what happened with Tamar and with Tamar, his sister, and her being, you know, defiled as the law would have put it, maybe he was wanting to, you know, preserve that name kind of in a way, vicariously give her the life that she should have had through this daughter of his. Or at least a chance at that. Note there at 5 pounds. Hebrew says 200 shekels by the royal standard. Estimated to be 2.3 kilograms, or I guess roughly 5 pounds. Seeing how much is left of the chapter. Verse 28. Absalom lived in Jerusalem for 2 years, but he never got to see the king. Then Absalom sent for Joab to ask him to intercede for him, but Joab refused to come. Absalom sent for him a second time, but again Joab refused to come. So Absalom said to his servants, "Go and set fire to Joab's barley field next to mine." So they set his field on fire, as Absalom had commanded. Then Joab came to Absalom at his house and demanded, "Why did your servants set my field on fire?" And Absalom replied, "Because I wanted you to ask the king why he brought me back from Geshur if he didn't intend to see me. I might as well have stayed there. Let me see the king. If he finds me guilty of anything, then let him kill me." So Joab told the king what Absalom had said. Then at last David summoned Absalom, who came and bowed low before the king, and the king kissed him. And that's all we get for now. Maybe there will be an extension of that in upcoming chapters. But still, like, burning down the dude's field seems a bit much. I mean, I understand wanting to get his attention. Maybe there was... maybe Absalom was more torn up over this than the text would indicate. But, yeah. Eventually, Absalom gets his audience with his father. And we'll see what happens, I guess. But it seems Absalom would rather have the chance to speak with his father, come what may, than to just be living in the same area again and never have contact with him. So that's all I got for 2 Samuel 14. Okay, so essentially the majority of that was just one big plot by Joab to get David to be okay with bringing Absalom back home. And then, of course, Absalom being back home wants to talk with his father after a while. Can't stand the continued inability to do so. And so just like does his best to get Joab's attention, to get an audience with David. And then they finally meet again, and it seems like things are okay. We'll have to see where things go from there, I guess. But that's going to do it for this one. So, as always, like and share if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube, or give me a follow on other platforms to keep up with my latest activity. If you're looking for more ways to keep up with what I'm doing, take a look down in the description. There will be links there to find and follow my other social media pages, including, well, no, not yet, but eventually there will be a link down there for a supporter page on coffee.com. I'll let you know when that actually comes out. Probably in a short video, but also maybe in some of these outros. But, yeah. Keep looking down there if you're waiting on that. And down below the description, leave comments with any thoughts you have for video ideas, thoughts on this chapter of the Bible, connections to other parts of the Bible that relate to this maybe, ideas for the, supporter rewards or whatever you want to call them, kickbacks, benefits, whatever. Anyway, whatever ideas you have, let me know down in the comment section. So that's going to do it for now. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you soon for another video. But whatever the case is, until next time, stay cool, people.